This is your Bomb Wednesday service podcast. I am Naima Cochrane, otherwise known as your senior pastor of both Wednesday Sermon and Music Sermon. And as always, I have with me the incomparable, but possibly distracted.
That's a really big word. Is that how we're doing this on a holiday week?
I felt generous today. Take it, because I don't know if I got another one coming.
I'm sleepy, man.
Me too, nigga. Like
this daylight savings time is.
Let me tell you, I'm so glad you said that, because I was gonna say,
I just woke up from a nap 5 minutes ago.
I haven't been able to take a nap yet. I'm gonna try to do it. Well, actually, no, I can't even do it when we get off. I have this one last big story I'm working on that is kicking my ass. It's taking so long. I doubt Christine's gonna hear this, but shout out to Christine Tapper, because I owe her this shit like Thursday. But it's just taking a really long.
Tapper a story from Thursday,
bruh. It's taking so long because I keep.
This isn't gonna go well.
You'll understand once, like, the story post. The problem is I keep making it too big and having to trim it back down. Like, it's too big.
I don't understand.
But anyway, but all that said, I'm almost to the end. I gotta finish that, then I can take a nap. But this time of year, I always go into struggle mode, and I'm in full struggle, like full struggle. It's all struggle all the time over here. I just want to chill. I don't want to do any more work for the rest of the year. And that was my plan. My plan as of last year was this year after Thanksgiving, I wasn't doing any more work. I'm not quite there, but I'm not taking on any new work. So that's close-ish, sort of.
No, it's not.
Yeah, a little bit. No. I'm going to claim it as a victory.
You sound like a Republican right now. I want you to know that.
I'll claim it as a victory.
Okay, Melania, go ahead.
So, at the time you guys hear this, tomorrow is Thanksgiving.
Hopefully your ass will be in the house.
In the house, airport, giving thanks for...
Or a Union Station.
Man.
Or going places your ass don't need to be going.
And apparently it's been a very busy travel week in the midst of...
Eating food y'all need to be eating, because we see them plates y'all like to post, and majority of y'all families can't cook worth shit. So
wow,
just stay at home.
You ain't got to bring people's families into it. That was rude of him, y'all. I'm sorry, but I will say, like,
the truth. Y'all see the plates every year. They look terrible.
I feel like some people make the plates look terrible on purpose, because it can't really be that bad.
Yes, it can. You want to know my greatest Thanksgiving hysterical moment was? Like, it was Thanksgiving 2010.
Mm.
And me and my ex at the time were both in grad schools in different cities, and I left Syracuse to go to DC, and we spent Thanksgiving like house hopping, right? We went to one of her friend's house, and it was a large gathering. It was a great time.
Mm-hmm.
So we got there last, and so we was all downstairs. I'll never forget, we were watching Kevin Hart's Seriously Funny downstairs, and me and her had watched it like 30 times. So we in the back laughing, kikiing, and we had a big plate, and we were sharing, and somebody put nuts in the dressing.
And were they white?
No, we don't.
Did they grow up around white people?
No. It was the listen.
Was it a walnut or like a
Look,
what kind of nut?
I am a black person from a black city, Saginaw, Michigan, with Southern roots, and this young woman is from the great state of Tennessee. So we are just like,
I don't think I've ever heard of that.
Two black Thanksgiving foods, and we looked at each other, and it was the funny part of it is we were sitting in a place where everybody could see us.
Mm.
And we had to like find a way to get napkins and spit the food out and like slide it in our hands. And then like the dressing went untouched, and then find a trash can and flip the plate upside down.
Yo, the plate flip on Thanksgiving is the hardest. Like that maneuver.
So discreetly. It was hard. And I just remember being starving because after that, we was like, we're not eating nothing else to here.
You could have tried it.
Bam. It was the single nastiest thing I've ever had in my life.
So the thing is, like, people have to know their station when it comes to what you can prepare for Thanksgiving. Like, you got to do a trial run. You have to know what your capabilities are, right? You can't just be like, what's that video that everybody saw their mama like, Thanksgiving is not the time to be trying out new ass recipes. You losing recipes. You gotta run that at home first before you put it. You know, you got to do farm team shit before you send it up to the majors. You can't.
It's not even that. It's yes, that's a part of it. But if you're in relationships, you've got to be honest with your partner and just tell them this is trash. Don't do this anymore. Don't cook this for anyone that I'm related to. And
that doesn't always work because, you know, people be like, but honey, I just want to make 4 and you never support me when, and I just want to, and you just be like, all right, bring your stupid dish in.
You have to be honest and be like, I'll support you
in another
moment.
They might be honest and be like, nobody's going to eat it, but go ahead, right?
No. See, that's how we get here with the nasty plates and you get nuts in your dresser. No, tell them this is trash. Throw that shit away or I'm leaving your black ass at the house.
Oh, Lord.
We got to put a stop to this kind of shenanigans in 2020.
It's never going to stop because everybody, like, people who cook nasty food, it's like people who can't sing but think they can sing is people who cook nasty food. It's the same thing. Like for example, if I cook something and it doesn't taste good, I'm aware it doesn't taste good. I'm not going to serve it. But people who cook things that don't taste good and proudly put it out is, like I said, it's like the people who can't sing but think they can sing. Like there's some disconnect in how their brain is processing whatever's going on. They don't take it in the same way we do. I'm convinced of that. It's the only explanation.
No, but though, okay, let me ask you this. Those foods that you know you don't cook well, how many people have told you that they're trash?
I don't think I've actually ever had anybody tell me my foods.
Self-awareness.
But that's the thing. I'm not going to serve you something I don't think is good. Or I'm going to serve you with the disclaimer, I think it had too much salt. I think something's missing. I think I might have overcooked it. Like, I'm going to preface it.
When people do that, people who say that already have a reputation that they can cook. They just had an off night. That is different. Right.
No, I can cook. That's true. Okay.
Michael Jordan only had 10 points tonight, but he's still Michael Jordan.
Right.
Nuts and dressing. You don't belong in the league. Like, that's not a bad night. So I'm saying, no one's ever told you your food was trash, which means that you're genuinely assuming a good cook. Right. These are people where people are lying to them. Like you said, people who can sing, people think they're good at sex. No, we got to start telling people these things. Your sex is trash. Your voice is terrible. Your cooking skills are on E.
But there's a way to do it, Carron, that you don't have to destroy.
No, you just gotta hurt feelings. That's how we got here and half the problems we have in 2020. We didn't hurt people's feelings. Somebody should have hurt Donald Trump's feelings with his 17 Republicans running for president.
In some ways, that's correct. Before we get too much further down this path, I do just want to remind everybody that as y'all all know the drill by now. You're here with us, and we appreciate you for it. But we have a whole week's worth of programming for y'all on the bomb side of the Count the Dings family. On Monday, we have the amazing ladies of Crazy Sexy Cool, and you're going to be with them in 2 weeks. 3 weeks. You're going to be with them in 3 weeks. Yes.
December 14th.
2 weeks. I can't do math right now.
I don't know.
3 weeks. I don't know how far. Whatever the fuck that is. December 14th.
I'm just happy to be here.
I'm like, when is that?
Happy to be
I was
here.
like, it's today the 30th. Is okay. So, all right. So you're with them on December 14th. On Tuesday, we have the OG show. On Wednesday, it is us. Hi. On Thursday, you got the Woke Bros with Nando and Wozni. And on Friday, it is Growing Up the Same with my boy Trey. And whatever magical guest he pulls out of the air as he does every single week. And then, of course, on the main Count the Things feed, you also have the wonderment of stuff like the Dad Pod and Cinephile. And then on the Patreon, there's extra content. But what we really want to drive home to you is that if you are listening to this via audio right now, you need to press stop. Go to YouTube. Go to the Count Yeah, go to the Count the Dings YouTube page. Find Count the Dings YouTube page. All our shows are there. We're not under individual pages. We are all under Count the Dings. So you can find our shows. Our producers are wonderful people, and they post them bright and early in the morning. So every Wednesday morning, you should be able to find us there. I'm also just going to say that through January, y'all should just be prepared to hear me make some mistakes, mess up some names. because yo, that end of year shit is not a game. But also, like, my mind is conditioned to start winding down, because in the entertainment industry, once you hit Thanksgiving, the year is basically over, and it's the only time of the year that everybody takes off. So my mind is used to being like, oh, we can start downshifting at this point in time, and this year especially.
I'm used to like checking out in the summer when you cover sports.
Right.
This is the part of the year when everything starts usually.
Right.
Like, this is usually the busiest part of the year, is where it's like sometimes it's an argument to take your vacation days to get away from homecoming, because October, November, December is when October to February to Super Bowl. No, to April through March Madness. It's like a just complete shit show of everything.
Oh, I also want to say, even though by the time you guys hear this, it won't be anymore. Today, the 24th, when we're taping, is my little sister's 35th birthday. Happy birthday, Shy.
Oh,
she's so dope.
Yes, she is. Yes, happy birthday.
She's amazing. And I feel like there's so before we get the show started, I hit you about this earlier. David Dinkins, the first black mayor and only black mayor of New York to date, died late last night. He was 93 years old. And I wanted to take a minute to acknowledge him because it's especially poignant. I think it would be poignant anyway, but especially right now, because the reason there are mad people who were like, I didn't know anything about him. I barely ever heard his name, especially considering he's the first black mayor of New York. And the reason for that is Rudolph Giuliani. Mayor Dinkins immediately preceded Rudy, and initially actually ran against Rudy and beat him, which of course incensed Rudy that a black man beat him to become the first black mayor of New York.
But a week ago, he had that black stuff dripping down, right? Out his face.
So, did we talk about Yusuf Hawkins on the show? We did, right? With Wise?
I believe so.
So,
yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So in the doc, they talked about how that year, all the racial tension, because that was also the year of the Central Park case, really kind of drove Dinkins' election, right? So he got elected in November 89. Then in 91, there were 3 days of riots in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, between the Hasidic Jew community and the black community, after a little black boy was hit by a car and killed by a Jewish man by accident, but the black people didn't believe it was by accident. So in retaliation, they stabbed a Jewish student. And so then it was like 3 days of back and forth, people setting shit on fire, like blowing up cars, madness. It's interesting because the New York Police Department wasn't responding with proper force. I'm not sure why to this day. And even the newspapers were agitating the situation. There's been so many people have chronicled it later. And somebody...
Wait. You said a police department wasn't responding to something correctly?
Right. That's what I'm saying is weird. But let me get there. Apparently how can I put it? So Mayor Dinkins, and maybe this was the point, Mayor Dinkins there was an internal investigation with the city. Mayor Dinkins ended up being found at fault for the severity of the riots. But the fault they said he had was that he trusted the police department's reports instead of listening to the news reports about how bad it was. Like, I've never heard of anything like that. So that's how it set up to me. But Rudy was telling people, like, no, it's on purpose because he wants the Jewish community to be hurt and he doesn't care about y'all, and he's a black nationalist. So he was sowing seeds. Then in 92, so this is 91. Then in 92, so imagine this, 89, you got riots. 91, you got riots. 92, there was 3 days of riots up here by my house, actually, right up by my house after, in Washington Heights, after a cop shot a 23-year-old Dominican kid. And over those 3 days, like, other people got killed, other people got injured, and the police department was asking Dinkins if they could have, like, you know, a higher grade of, like, you know, like military grade weapons and stuff to bring in, and he said no. Because this was the 90s, before every police department had that shit just sitting around. And not only that, he paid for the funeral of the kid that the cop shot. So obviously the NYPD took that as like a traitor move. And about not quite a month later, Giuliani led 10,000 off-duty police officers to protest at City Hall. And it started as a peaceful protest, but then they were breaking barricades, they were storming the doors, they were harassing all the Black city council members. There were 350 clothed, you know, uniformed police on duty, on site. They did nothing. They blocked the Brooklyn Bridge. They were you know, terrorizing people, really. And Giuliani was in the middle with a bullhorn. You know, they was calling people all kinds of niggas and whatnot. And it was to the point where, you know, obviously Dinkins condemned him for it. Giuliani's own campaign team, because he was running again for the 93 election, Giuliani's own team was like, you need to condemn this. You need to, you know, distance yourself from it because you look culpable. You look like the ringleader. And he asked for the report to be destroyed. He was like, just destroy this shit. But he won the election. It was close, but in part of support of the PBA and the NYPD, Giuliani won the election, and once he won, took credit for mad shit that, like, all that safe New York, safe streets, you know, bringing New York's prosperity back, all that shit that he takes credit for, that was stuff that Dinkins had started working on that just happened to click into place. You know, you sow some seeds, they blossom 3 years later or 2 years later. He just happened to be in place for it. But Dinkins' legacy.
So you're saying, like, Trump's running Giuliani's playbook to the T? Yes,
that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, okay. and I'm also saying that literally the backlash to electing our first Black mayor in the midst of racial conflict, protests, actually speaking up and being vocal. Oh, the other thing was Giuliani was about to form this is actually why they protested. Giuliani was about to form a citizens complaint council for the NYPD to actually, you know, check on complaints, reports, respond to them, for there to be some oversight. And that's actually why they protested. So he was even about to try to take on the NYPD in terms of police reform, and, you know, can't have that. NYPD can't have that. But that's the kind of energy that Rudy brought into office, which is why we already didn't fuck with him. But the sad thing is, much like Trump and Obama, even though Trump wasn't able to execute it successfully, you know, Rudy took claim for all kind of shit that Dinkins did. And Dinkins, similar to Obama, doesn't necessarily need to stomp up and down and stick his chest out and, you know, all of that type of stuff. And he, you know, he's as powerful in New York on the Black side as Giuliani has ever been, and well known on the white side. So he didn't necessarily need to be like, I did this and I did that. He's still been always beloved. But I just feel like he doesn't get his due in the, you know, in the canon when we talk about New York mayors and leadership, because he was much better than he got credit for. Like, for a long time, people considered him like a failed mayor, and he wasn't at all. He just had crazy forces working against him, and he wasn't in office long enough for people to actually see the fruit of his labor happen under him, you know? So,
no, you mean like a Republican Senate against him?
Yeah. Oh. So shout out to
this movie before.
Yeah. So shout out to Mayor David Dinkins, and also his wife died like a month ago, so he was probably just ready to get getting. But I am thankful that he was alive long enough to see, I hope, and be aware of the fact that Rudy and Trump had to finally acquiesce, and Trump allowed permission for the transition to move forward. I hope.
I mean, it was It was gonna happen.
It was gonna happen. But what's interesting, but also not interesting or surprising, was that what finally convinced him was a bunch of Fortune 500 bosses calling him like, "You about to fuck the stock market up. We need you to go ahead and make that happen." And sure enough, the market jumped today. So interesting enough. You, kind sir, want to talk about verses. Oh, actually, let me not say that. We should talk about verses, but I'm gonna let you lead the conversation about verses.
It was, in my opinion, and I am totally biased.
Tell the people the background. Act like they don't know.
I am. It was the best verses ever to me, and if it was not to you, I feel bad for you.
Because why was it the best verses for you?
I'm getting it. If it wasn't to you, it's because you missed out on one of the golden 2, 3, 4 year runs of Atlanta history. And that was why, if you know people who went to school in the A at that time, who were down there or from there, were so excited for this versus, because that beef, I don't think beef's the right word. Or no, let me get this right. Beef is the right word, because I think,
but like actual beef.
Yeah, that was an actual beef. We overused beef, and that beef was real. To when there was a reason why we all went nuts when they did So Icy before, because in my recollection, that song has never been performed publicly.
No, they haven't.
And if it has, it's been in some small club and like a.
Well, they
a
haven't
club
together. So, I think Jeezy has. Not together.
I mean together.
No, they haven't.
So, but the backstory is that, like, look, that I know, and it's been talked about. Breakfast Club, Hot 97. Jeezy's been doing interviews. People have been writing about it. But yeah, like, there's one story that says that, Jeezy put the hit out on Gucci Mane. There's another group that was like, that was an allegation. Jeezy knew nothing about it. It was somebody from his camp who did. But either way, one of Jeezy homeboys ran up a Gucci spot and steal the chain, and Gucci defended himself, and that man is no longer with us. That's why you kept hearing the diss tracks, and Gucci was like, "You said somebody else with me." I put him in the ground too.
Yeah,
and told
once he said I'll put him in the ground too, and then once he said we smoking on whatever his ashes, whatever, that's when I had to kind of turn my volume down, because I was like, my nerves are bad. Here's the thing, right? And I got my arms crossed like the old Black church woman I am.
Yeah, you're doing a rock.
So y'all know that I am 44.
You got some brothers in your pocket?
I have been having to run from the hip hop police with Bobby Shmurda. I have been having to hide behind Puff's bodyguards at various times. I done been at, places where, the gun came out. I had to duck. I have had to sneak my own boyfriend's gun into the club before because I could go around security. Like, I've been in these things. It's not entertaining to me at this stage of my life. So I really was like...
Your soul is weary.
My soul is weary. I'm too old. Like, it's like I'm like Danny Glover. Like, I'm too old for this shit, right? And that's how I felt. That's how I felt watching it. So at a certain point, I realized that I was getting too anxious, and it wasn't necessarily Jeezy and Gucci that were making me anxious. It was the niggas on the side of Gucci's stage.
The comment. Oh yeah.
That were making me nervous, right? And the fact that
Zone 6 was in there.
I could see them putting a battery in Gucci's back, and I could tell that Jeezy was trying not to react and not to respond, but it felt like every once in a while he kind of had to turn around and give it a woosah or whatever. But I just, even them throwing shots at each other was uncomfortable for me, right? Because, and I think part of it is because like you and I talked about briefly, the nature of verses, and Tim and Swizz, they always do their postmortem, and Swizz was like, this was beautiful, this was gross, but they had to go through all the shots and everything to get to that point at the end. And to get the Jeezy speech, whatever the fuck. It's just not... it's not comfortable to me when it's real. Nothing about that is comfortable for me to watch. When it's light and it's just shady, like, all right, little key, little ha-ha, little whatever. Or if it's real, but it's real shade, not real, like, if we was in a different place, like, it's gonna go down a different way type, right? Like, Babyface was legit shading Teddy Riley, but on some big brother shade. But it was really like, you're doing too much shade. It's kind of how The Dream and Sean Garrett, that was not comfortable. It was not entertaining to watch. I get third-hand anxiety more as I'm getting older. Like when I'm watching something that's happening between two other people and I'm not even there and it looks like it's about to get tight, I can't, I gotta look away because I'd be like, I can't do it. So,
and that was the part I was trying to tell people. Because I was like, look, and you were saying the thing about, you kept saying Tim and Swiss, they wouldn't do this, they wouldn't do this.
No, you said people were gonna die. I said they're not gonna do it if these boys gonna fight.
I was 100% prepared.
Right.
For the chop of the spray.
Right. I said they were not gonna let that happen.
Times it felt like that's what it was about to go. And so when you was like, Tim and Swiss said this, and then like it took all of this. No, I don't think Tim and Swiss knew exactly until that night, and they were just kind of like, "Oh."
Why do you think Tim and Swiss didn't know? Do you know who Swiss's people? Swiss is a street nigga. Like his family has.
I'm not saying Tim and Swiss didn't understand the life. I don't think they thoroughly understood how real that beef is between those two.
But why would they not?
Because that was a very regional, inside 285 beef for so long. Like, you got to remember, when they both hit, like, rap was still regional at that time. Now, as they blown up and got bigger,
rap was starting to grow. But at the time when they hit, Swizz and Tim were both. Tim was literally doing Southern bounce, like, you know what I mean. So it's not like they weren't ever in Atlanta. Swizz has been in Atlanta a lot, and Jeezy is a Def Jam artist. He leaves Atlanta.
In Atlanta,
I know, but also, Carron, do you know how small the music industry is? Like, it's not. And this is the conversation that you and I were having. Like, I was just kind of like. The music industry is small. It's not even like in the journalism industry where it's like, it's not like any other business industry when if you are respected and you keep your ear to the ground and you move around, which Tim and Swizz both do, I think it's naive to assume that they didn't know all the backstory to what happened and how and to whom and to whatever. And if they hadn't, that nobody called them like, yo, big homie, you need to know.
Oh, they said they got multiple calls.
That the night of to stop it. I mean, that to assume they didn't know coming in. That's what I'm saying. I feel like they knew and they took the risk. But I also feel like they may now be moving more into we did shit for the culture, now we're gonna do shit for the culture in a different way.
In a safer way?
Well, no. I mean, like, I don't think they would have done Gucci and Jeezy over the summer. I don't think that matchup would have happened because it still, to me, runs very counter to everything they say Verzuz is supposed to be. You know, like, it's supposed to be a celebration. We're supposed to be showing love. We're supposed to be doing this, that, and other thing. But I understand it was important to Atlanta. Atlanta took Clubhouse over that night. Like, there was one room that had, with Savage and his team, had like over 1,000 people in it. And I was like, I gotta go. But Atlanta was so happy. Like, Atlanta was so happy. Like, they used to have viewing parties. It was the Atlanta Super Bowl. It was just, I like that for them. Yeah, I like that for Atlanta. That was a good moment for Atlanta. Atlanta needed that. That was cool.
I had a lot of drinks. I had a 15-piece extra well done, extra lemon pepper wing set. I had a Zoom going. I had it on a computer screen and a TV. Like, I had a great night. It was junior year, senior year, and 2 years post undergrad for me.
Right.
Even shout out to DJ Holiday, who had the pre-show rolling, and I had people texting me like, "Who was the DJ?" And I was just like, "Oh, this is just a regular night for DJ Holiday. Like, this is what he does." But yes, because even the animosity and attention in the air, I was like, "Yeah, this feels like old Atlanta." Like, this is how the club used to feel. This feels like Central Station.
And that's why I don't go to the club no
and
more.
That's what I enjoy so much. I was like, yeah, somebody probably gonna get stumped out.
I don't miss them. I don't miss them streets.
And this is old Atlanta.
I don't miss that. I don't miss that. Let me make sure I know where my purse is, and let me make sure I have eyes on all my girls in case we got to head for the exit. I don't miss them days. I don't have the stamina for them days no more.
But the funny thing for me is that, like, I grew up in that, so did I. Not learning the other side was the transition for me.
Mm-hmm. What other side? What do you mean?
Like, I remember, like, getting to college, like, sophomore, junior, senior years, when there was the dress-up parties and you wore suits and everything, and, like, everything was safe. And I remember that
most of our college parties ended with somebody. That, like, I've told people this before. In the South, well, you are talking about the South, but for me in the South, I've had more parties getting shot up in the South than I have. Like, in the South in college, more parties got shot up to end them than my entire life in New York. Like, that was how you knew the club was over. You heard some shots ring out, you duck, you run. There's everybody running. You don't know where you're going. You don't know what happened. You just running. And there was a set of brothers in my hometown that used to come to the little teen night and shoot up the parking lot, like, once a month. Like, you just knew it was going to happen. They weren't going to shoot anybody. They were just going to come
in the air,
shoot up the parking lot. So you knew that was going to happen. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't have.
That was like every high school. Yeah, every party in high school.
Yeah,
every single one.
I'm good on that life. I need something jubilant. I want to dance. I want to be able to talk shit. I want to be able to rap along. I want to be able to do all of that. That's fine because this Verzuz wasn't for me, and I knew that. I fuck with Gucci as a person. I don't really dig Gucci. I'm not that deep with Gucci as an artist, and like Jeezy's alright, but I'm not even really that into. Like, he alright. I'm not seeking out any Jeezy music to listen to it. So I was watching it for the culture, so I could be part of the conversation. But speaking of squashing beef, did you watch the Fresh Prince reunion?
I cried like 4 times.
I know. It was so good.
I hadn't cried that much since Best Man Holiday. And I cried like 30 times. And that Best Man Holiday is so good I haven't watched the full movie since. Like, I have seen pieces on like BET.
But you can't even put yourself through it.
But like the whole movie, like not the TV version, the like real version, I cannot watch because the first time I saw it in theaters, I swear to you, the entire last hour of that movie, I never forget. I went like on a Sunday at like 4:00 after church. It was like 4 people in there. In the last 15 minutes, I had my hood on because I was like this.
You was crying in your hip.
Like it wasn't streamed. I was actually
right. Yeah, I think that happened with me too. Like literally hitching your voice, like yeah, you got like a sob, like an actual sob.
That did me in that Fresh Prince series, bruh. Like the
here's
first
the thing, though. I was just about to say that, and you know what it is. I was telling somebody it wasn't so much my nostalgia for the show as it was watching them and how emotional they were, right? And then like later,
was that plus the nostalgia for the show for me. Like it was everything.
And then later when they showed that last episode again, James Avery was crying. Like, you know, he had like the ugly face. And I was like, oh, I can't. But
when they huddled up at the end.
Yeah.
And then they brought out Baby Nikki. Listen, I lost it.
When he first walked in, I was like, who this nigga? And I was like, oh, that's Baby Nikki. They never say his name. I don't know that child's name to this day. But I was also like, why your voice so deep? Like, God, you shouldn't even be here grown. Why your waves so tight? Like, it's
I was so happy to see Baby Nikki. So happy.
They really told him to just do like a quick walkthrough, which was fine. We didn't necessarily need to know what he was doing with his life or anything like that, which is cool. But, okay. The Janet Will conversation. Here's my thing about Janet and Will. Twitter people who were not old enough to watch New Jack Swing in real time. I mean, New Jack Swing. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I told y'all. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air in real time they've listened too much to what Janet has said about Janet and Will.
Yes.
Because when people think about Will Smith, even back then, they're thinking about him in terms of the Will Smith he is now. Will Smith was not the boss of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Quincy D. Jones
and Benny
Medina were the bosses of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, as was whomever the showrunner was. I think it was Sis, who later created the Steve Harvey show. Her name is something Harvey. I can't remember her first name. But, and also, what else? She created 2 other shows that are escaping me right now, 2 other UPN shows. But,
shout out to the UPN.
Shout out to the UPN. But I think what happened was a couple of things. I think that, one, Janet was absolutely difficult to work with, but difficult in a way that actors who think they're superior to everybody else on set is difficult, because Janet comes from stage. Stage people tend to kind of look down on TV people. And then
I remember an interview with her a long time ago, and she was like, she's talking about coming from the stage, and she was like, y'all gonna pay me to do this little TV show for this many nights a week? That's it?
Exactly.
And she was just like, yeah, of course.
And she said at one point, you know, her attitude was kind of like, you know, I've been doing this for 10 years and here comes this kid. Because, you know, Will had no acting experience.
Nope.
He had no, and he gets the title role of a TV show on the number 1 network or primetime TV show on a major. Are you kidding me? So I think, so people, you know, people be like, we can't paint her.
And he had a very long leash.
Right. And so people be like, you can't paint her as an angry black woman. It's like, there's the angry black woman, but there's also like senior talent, younger talent in the dynamic between that. And I think that was there. And I think that it's
like working somewhere and you get a new boss that's younger than you, a lot younger than you.
Right.
And you be like, trying to tell you what to do, and you know they don't know what the hell they doing.
Exactly. So I think that in her eagerness, because I can just see this all in her energy all the time. I think that in her eagerness to prove and to remind Will that she was the better actor, the classically trained actor, you know, et cetera, and also probably to win, because she and James Avery and the guy who plays Jeffrey, they all come from stage. So also, you know, to keep James Avery's approval, et cetera, I think she was probably being really annoying. And that translated for like a Will and a Carl and Alfonso to being difficult. But I also am pretty sure that it wasn't them running around Hollywood saying she was difficult. It was the actual people who were behind the scenes on the show saying she was difficult, right? So I think that's because I've only ever heard Will say something about her on record once. And it was in 93. And he said, I know, I'm paraphrasing, but he said, I know she's going to drag me because she wanted it to be Aunt Viv of Bel-Air. Like, that's what she wanted the show to be, right? So, that's 1. 2.
But also, wait, to add to that, historically, we know this is a fact. I know you know this. Anytime black women speak up, they quickly get labeled as difficult. Right. If they ask for anything.
But that's the thing. Here's the thing, though. Yes. And,
even if they are being difficult.
Right. That's what I'm going to say. Yes, and.
If they are, but sometimes they are, and sometimes they're just asking.
Sometimes they're just asking.
For fairness.
So here's the other thing. I think that because she probably legally couldn't call out Benny and Quincy and the showrunners, she's been targeting Will.
The easiest target.
And I think that over the years, as his career has blown up, he's become a real target, like out of resentment, right? Misplaced or otherwise. But I think that Will has carried an unfair amount of the blame for what happened to her, because she didn't say he got her fired, right? Her pregnancy broke her contract. And what I heard her say in another interview is that when she got the bad deal that she was talking about in the reunion, she asked Will, she was like, aren't you going to fight for me? Because if you put your foot down, then they'll give me a better deal. And he was kind of like, why would I do that? Why would I do that? And I actually, if I was 21 and we were on the 3rd season of my shit and I'm feeling myself and we got to rewrite the whole fucking season because you got pregnant.
And add a new character.
Change every goddamn thing to center around you. You got to go because this is my show. Like that would be me too. I can't even really. I would be the same, right? So I think that Will did that in part because he knew the fans needed it. Because him and Jada's brand is this like, we're gonna put everything on the table and kumbaya it out and talk about feelings. But I feel like you could even tell from the dynamics. This was more Will saying, "You need this. I'm gonna let you You have the floor. Do what you gotta do." Because I don't think he needed closure at all. I think he realized that she needed a space to.
No, I don't think.
I think she needed to talk to him. I think he knew she needed to talk to him directly, and I think he wanted to put it down. I think this was the kindest version of, I really don't want to hear my name in your mouth no more ever again for any reason. So, what's your take?
There's also the reason why Will Smith is Will Smith is because he has something that, despite the one thing we have to remind people about, which is like how actually good he is at rapping. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Or like how some people would say he's soft, and I'm just like, he's from West Philly. Right. What do you mean? Is that white people love Will Smith.
Correct.
And Will Smith is really, really good with white people.
Yes.
But like black people love Will Smith because we know that like Will Smith is still a nigga.
He is a nigga with a hard ER.
We might not understand
as is his wife
that he does.
Right.
And the decisions and all of the stuff, but we just like, not at the end of the day, because Will Smith will give you movie roles like every 5 to 7 years to remind y'all, like, I ain't went nowhere. Like, that's why, like, let's just be honest. Black people's favorite Will Smith character is Mike Lowry. Yes, because
he's a nigga.
Like, that's actually Will Smith.
Yes, correct.
If any role he's ever played, like, nah, that's day-to-day Will right there. Right. That's why, like, we love Mike Lowry so much. And it's like, yeah, you might go off and do Wild Wild West and all that, fam, but, like, at some point, like, he always come back home.
Right.
Or do something to remind you on his little YouTube little series or whatever he's doing. Like, yeah, no,
but
like,
he's so good at digital content. Oh, my God. It's almost, like, scary how good he is at it. But anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But, yeah, but when you're that, and we've never actually seen something like that, unless you go back, like, generations and generations to think of, like, an artist or an actor or musician, and you're loved by generally everybody.
It has to be like a Harry Belafonte or something, I would think.
Yeah. But it probably bothers you that. But Harry Belafonte pissed on white people off. And what's the movie when he drank from the same cup as the white woman that made everybody mad? I can't remember the name right now because I'm sleepy. But having someone that's been throwing shots at you the way she has thrown shots,
right?
Like the level of disrespect and disgust she got to was like Gucci levels.
She blamed him for her son's death in like 2008. That's crazy.
Alfonso was a tampon up his ass.
That's so ridiculous.
Like,
which is why, please note that Alfonso was, when she walked onto that soundstage.
They weren't there though.
Alfonso was not there.
They weren't there that day. He wasn't there that day. No,
I'm happy they cleared that up. I don't believe that. Because I don't. He said he had to leave. I know. He said he had to leave early because they were all in the same gear. He said he had to leave early.
They said they filmed on 2 different days, and if you watch the interview process, you can tell that they did because when they did their one-on-ones in the chair, Will's appearance is different in 2 days because I noticed this. I was like, why he ain't got no haircut? But when they doing the rest, he got a haircut. And it's like everybody else just wore the same thing.
But do you still not think that Alfonso was like, I'm not going to be here on the day that bitch is here? Like, that was intentional. Come on now.
Like, I don't think it was. Like, I don't think
with
that
her.
Grown man is, like, scared of her. Like,
I don't know. I don't think he's scared of her. I think he does not fuck with her. Like, he has said something about her recently. I think Alfonso does not fuck with her. And he wasn't going to pretend just for the sake of the cameras. That's my thought.
Listen, could that have happened? Yes.
Because Will's brand has to be like the open chill shit. Because the only person she targeted as close to as much as Will was Alfonso. She talked about Alfonso as much. And like Will's brand is to be like, not sure that we're gonna put this water under the bridge, whatever. Out. There's no reason for Alfonso to need to do that. He could give her his ass kissed for the rest of their lives. Why would he not? Alfonso is a Dominican from the Bronx. That motherfucker is like, you kiss my ass, trust me. I believe in my heart.
But if my man's is in control of all this, and we know how tight like Alfonso and Will are,
which is why he said I'm not gonna be there.
And he is running what's edited and what's edited out.
Which is why Alfonso said,
edit me out.
I'm not gonna be there. How? He could not have been easily edited out if he was in the room. But the way they did cut it was so not to draw attention to the fact that he wasn't in the room.
Yeah,
right?
But he also was like, look, I had to take my picture later, and they edited me in the picture for the promo, because he was like, I wasn't there. So it was like, if y'all can do all this, y'all could have just edited them out if they had like a tense moment on set. So I was just like,
I think he was just like, I'm not gonna be there. That's my thought, because that would have been what I would have done. I would have been like, I'm just not gonna be there that day. Y'all, how many scenes y'all? What else y'all need me to do? Okay, I'll do that on pickup. I'm not trying to front, because like that's my thing, right? She has talked so much shit, and then when she saw Will, the energy was not. It was not that same energy. So my thing would be, yes, I know the purpose of this is to smooth it out, but her and Will had a off-camera moment, just the two of them. You have also, you ain't talked about nobody else on his set personally except my black ass. If we gonna talk, it ain't gonna be no, I'm gonna hug you first because we in front of the cameras. Like, nah, we need to have that side talk first too. So I'm gonna just wait until I can do that shit there. I'm not saying he's wrong for it. That's my belief, because that's where my spirit would have been at. I would have been tell her, I said hello, and I'm gonna see y'all when we get together.
What I did appreciate was, because I'm always the same energy of like, if you had all that smoke in these comments, bring that same energy when I catch you face to face.
We can work through it, but like you need to start where you were. Like that's where I am. Yeah.
But if you remember like how it opened and her sitting there, and he walked up the steps to her, like you instantly saw the regret on her face.
Right, because she was like
switch went off.
She realized that she had been making too much of it. She felt she'd been doing too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it hit her. And it was just like, I read something and they made a really good point about this. And they were like, look, they weren't absolving Will or what Will may or may not have done or what anyone else may have not have done, I said about her over the years. But they were like, look, no one knew about the abuse, sis, and we're not saying that you didn't have reason to act or do what you did given what you were going through.
Right.
But they were like, since then, don't act like there hasn't been things that you have personally done that has caused you not to get some work.
Right, because she's also...
It's just been too talented.
It's just been too much. You can't tell me, like and I also believe that people are too quick to believe a story about being blackballed. Because the thing about Janet is that Janet had not had any large roles previous to Fresh Prince. And not only that, but like James had some guest roles after. He had one other really briefly lived sitcom after, which was him, Terrence Howard, and Morris Chestnut, and Vivian. He had Sparks with the law firm.
More Chestnut. It was Terrence
Howard and who else?
And Miguel A. Nunez.
And Robin Givens. But he had Sparks for like a hot second. Alfonso was on In the House for like a hot second.
3 seasons.
And Tatiana, you know, she had like her little music career thing, but none of them really just sustained a career post Fresh Prince.
Did 2 movies.
Okay, fine. Aaron Parsons did 2
Major Pain and
she was in Major Pain. I forgot about that.
And Class Act.
I forgot about that. You know, you're absolutely right. I totally forgot about that. But I say that to say that Janet also sued her insurance company, because I looked all this. I was like, let me see just how much she been wilding. Janet sued her insurance company at some point in the 2000s and she sued them saying, because there was some kind of treatment she wanted. I guess she had been having like chronic pain or some kind of unidentifiable like some trimmers, some paint, some whatever. But whatever it was, I guess she was asking for something that was Eastern and not Western, that wasn't being covered by her insurance. And they were denying it, so she sued her insurance company. And when she sued them, she said that whatever this chronic pain she was having, ailment that she was having, was the reason she hadn't worked in like a decade. So I was like, is it Will or is you sick? Is it Ujiwali or is it Walmart? Like, is it because you difficult or is it because you sick? Which one? And listen, her husband left her while her baby was young and she lost her job and there was a lot going on. Mama might have needed some therapy. That is a possibility too. You know what made me
remember the most though? As they were just showing when they got to her part and they were showing all the like best of Aunt Viv clips. Mm-hmm. I was like, damn, I forgot how bad Aunt Viv was. It wasn't like she wasn't bad, but I was just like, I forgot she was that bad.
Right. Well, like, also because they changed the character. Yeah, they totally changed the character when they recast it, because I believe that was a Will move. Like, you're not going to give anybody else on this show except for James or Alfonso the opportunity to upstage me again, because that was part of the problem, that Janet took up too much space in the role. And so now Aunt Viv has a kid, so she doesn't have the career, right? Now the boys are moving into the pool house, and so they have the campus set and the pool house set, so there's not as much going on in the main house. And Aunt Viv becomes this ancillary character. But the thing I do want behind Phil, but what I do want to say, and we can probably end on this note because I think we're kind of coming up on time. What y'all niggas is not gonna do, y'all are not gonna keep disrespecting
Daphne Maxwell Reid.
You are not gonna keep disrespecting Daphne Maxwell Reid. That is what you are not going. This shit ain't got nothing to do with her. She was not part of it. She has now told y'all Negroes that she was actually asked to audition from the door and she declined.
So she didn't even meet her.
Like, I don't know. Met. Somebody said to me, I can't believe they never met. She should have reached out to her. Reached out for what? Like, it's a job.
For what?
Reached out to them what? Extend the olive branch. I was like, it's not her olive branch to extend. Like, what? What do y'all think this is? She gonna call her and say what? Like, she
also, this is what other people. No.
She ain't raising her kids for real. Like, what the fuck?
Who had the bigger career at that point?
Daphne Maxwell Reid. And that's what motherfuckers don't understand. The number of people, because I posted a picture of her and Tim Reed who were like, I didn't know she was married to Rayford's sister, and that's why you need to not talk.
They have a media empire.
Exactly. Stay in a child's place. That was rude. I shouldn't say that. But
no, it wasn't.
You need to not talk. Like, because we not gonna play Daphne Maxwell Reid. I refuse.
We also not gonna play that like people act like she was a bad. No, she was like really, really good.
They changed the character.
People just like to compare them,
right?
And I'm like, that wasn't the role for her to play.
They completely changed the character, and it just, she was not going to be the same. It's not that people made it seem like she didn't play the role as well, and I'm like, it was a different role. It was different. It was written differently. She was put in different positions.
Maxwell Reid was not to be some lawyer, professor, black activist, dancer.
Right, right. That was not her role. That was not her role at all. She was a loving mama to a little nigga who was running around because Janet Huber's ass got pregnant. And I'm not throwing shots at Janet Huber. I'm just saying, I think it is important, and it's not even so much about caping for Will, but I think that like, we are all really quick to latch on to whatever narrative paints the other person in the worst light possible. And I recognize I had a little bit of back and forth with somebody about this, because when I was saying that I don't appreciate how Daphne Reid has been shaded in the process, and I was like, and this isn't even for me about colorism. I understand we need to have conversations about colorism in television, especially even in the 90s, but this is not the show to make the example. So the woman has said she was asked to audition from the door. So you can't say
said it was a rapper, so she turned it down.
Yeah, you can't say they intentionally went and cast a light-skinned person. You can't say that, because they just called back a person they were originally interested in. And like, it just wasn't about her. It wasn't about her. But the fans, even the fact that it's light-skinned Viv and dark-skinned, light-skinned Aunt Viv versus dark-skinned Aunt Viv, instead of like the first versus the second, or instead of like whatever. the fans have turned it into this like, or like I've heard people say that, you know, Daphne's Aunt Viv is softer because she likes skin. And it's like, no, nigga, they wrote the character differently.
Here's the thing I'd like to remind people about when anybody talks about colorism with that show. Mm-hmm. People don't realize 3 of their 4 kids were dark skinned.
Right.
Will was not their child.
Right.
Carlton, Ashley, and Nikki were chocolate. Hillary was the only one that looked like Uncle Phil.
Right.
And then looked like second and Viv. So it made sense with the casting. And like you had a majority dark-skinned family, like or they were like split half and half. You throw in Jeffrey and Jazz.
I actually said that to me, the kids look more like they belong to Phil and Daphne Maxwell Reid than they look like they belong to Phil and Fred, but whatever. Yeah, but it's like I get it. I'm just like, you can't just arbitrarily decide that this is the example for colorism. Like, you can talk about 2 actresses who both kept their jobs and look at how they treated Tashina Arnold as Pam versus Tisha Campbell Martin as Gina. You can put them 2 together to talk about colorism if you want to. You know, the sassy versus the sweet, like that type of shit. So it's just, I just want people to...
to add into that comment, yes, Gina was the only one in the entire series that was about to fight somebody when she was about to fight Martin's old teacher.
True. True. That's true.
Miss Trinidad.
That's true. That is true. That is
Pam
true.
ain't fight nobody except the rat, because that ain't no damn
Chilla Gonzalez. All right, guys. On the note, Carron, anything else you have to say to the people?
Yeah, don't post that nasty ass food this week.
Okay.
Those are my words. And tell people they food nasty. Tell them.
I feel
Make
like
the world a better place.
I feel like Sean did something that got on my nerves, but I can't remember. Oh, we'll talk about this next week. Yo, y'all Bernie bros, and the way y'all seem to think y'all are experts in cabinet picks.
Oh, they think he gonna get a job?
No, but like the way in which they are picking over whatever, we'll get into it next week because it's gonna make me mad if I get into that.
Like about how the Bernie Bros have questions or shots for anybody that could be a possible cabinet position when for the last 4 years we didn't even have a full cabinet.
I'm saying that, and that was my point. That some people like he's putting people in place right now because the cabinet is gutted. Like departments need to be completely rebuilt. Steve Buttigieg is not going to rebuild an entire department. Like he's not the person. And not to mention, we can't pull anybody. He can't pull anybody from the Senate, and he can't afford to pull a whole hell of a lot of people from the House. And he already pulled Calvin Richmond. Is that his name? Calvin Richmond? Richmond, whatever I know his last name is. Said Richmond from Louisiana, to be chief of his public outreach, public engagement, something like that. But yeah, I think that there's so much going on right now with King, especially. I found it very curious that he has this new organization, him and Lee, that's
Stacey
to hold Biden accountable. They're doing some Ice Cube shit. They have policy recommendations that they want him to take on. That they want to be able to give to him, and they want him to give him an audience. But I'm like, meanwhile, your Morehouse brother. I'm like, meanwhile, your Morehouse brother is running for a seat that could actually help us make a difference because we could get Mitch McConnell up out of fucking Senate as Senate Majority Leader. And I ain't seen him post not one thing about Raphael Warnock, but you posting about your shit holding Biden accountable to do something every day. So I'm wondering what that is about, aside from jealousy, since I do think that King has an MLK complex, and he's probably jealous that his Morehouse brother is the senior pastor at Ebenezer. But that's a whole nother conversation. Yeah.
Stop giving that white man your money.
Stop giving that white man your money. Or your attention at all, actually. Just fuck it. Wow.
Your follows, your clicks, your page views. Your email address.
Right. Oh, also, I have a challenge for everybody. I have posted this on my Twitter account. I think it's interesting. As we've talked about this year, I think that most of us are sorely lacking in even in anything beyond the most basic knowledge, and some of us not even that, of civics and how our government structure actually works. And you can go on to the Department of Gov and look at the citizenship. There have been studies that have shown that most natural born U.S. citizens will not pass the civics part of the test for U.S. citizenship. So you can download it. It's 128 questions, or you can take a sample test that gives you questions 20 at a time, and you can keep refreshing the test. I think it's interesting. I think it's an interesting exercise.
This is for all the people who didn't get an A in Miss Portis's 11th grade politics class at Bridgeport High School.
I'll be honest. They split government and economics in between semesters, and I think we only had to take it 1 year, if I'm not mistaken. And one of our coaches, you know how, like, maybe not your school, but at my school, you have every sport coach had to teach like 2 classes or something like that, and they would just be the most. They would just be the most uninvolved. Like, you could tell they were just like, "What's the lesson plan say? I'm gonna teach it." Like, there was no. Like, it wasn't a subject that they cared about, or that they chose, or that they gave a fuck about, or that they even knew anything about. That was almost always the case with whoever was teaching history or government economics. Almost always, unfortunately.
Wait, I take that back. Our basketball coaches were not teachers.
Okay.
Now, some of the other ones, they might have worked at the school. Hoop was? Nah.
I think they had I think they had, our boys varsity coach was, our boys varsity coaches were, soccer coach was, those are the only coaches I paid any. Who was that for? Our football coach was.
The basketball coaches, when I was in high school, the JV coach was a security guard at the school, and the varsity coach was a CPA.
Wow. Okay. There it is. All right. So yeah, don't get that white man your money. Fuck Van Jones, as always.
And Mark Hill.
Do give your money to the Georgia races if you are able to. Don't engage in arguments with people who have roses in their Twitter handle on Twitter. They do not mean you well, and they don't know as much about the government as they think they do. For some reason, they think that supporting Bernie has made them enlightened, or just calling themselves a progressive has made them enlightened in terms of how the government works, and they do not understand. And
y'all keep rooting for a dude that keeps losing.
Like, how many times he didn't even make it, fam? He didn't even make it past the primary, my nigga. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand.
Y'all keep saying y'all homeboy can hoop, but he ain't never made varsity.
He ain't made JV. Like, that's my thing. Like, and then got the nerve to argue that he would have won the actual general election, and I'm like, he did not win.
He would have been primary. He would have been a McDonald's All-American. He didn't even make varsity. He didn't make all area. Yeah. He didn't make all state. He didn't make all conference.
Right.
He didn't even make varsity. That's who Bernie Sanders is.
It's really, I really don't understand.
Sam, you've just been around for 40 years. You never made varsity. Your curl never quite.
Yeah, and they still got the nerve to say he would have won when I'm like, Bernie got 14% of the South Carolina vote when he went up against Hillary Clinton. Like, how do you think he was gonna win that when James Clyburn delivered South Carolina? Like, what? And then they say shit like, well, he only won because he got the moderate black vote. And I'm like, which are votes? He only won because he got people to vote for him, is what y'all are saying. Like, it doesn't even make sense. Anyway, all right, y'all.
They sound like Republicans.
They sound like Trump supporters.
Biden only won because he got more electoral votes.
Yeah, like, Biden only won because more people voted for him. That's exactly what y'all sound like. So, on that note, we recognize that you could be listening to and or watching anything right now. You are here with us. We do appreciate it. We wish you a happy I was about to say happy Halloween, nigga. A happy Thanksgiving.
Just hang up. Just hang up. Just push the button. We're done. We're done. We're done. We're done. We're done.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Cut it off. Play the music. Play the music. Play the music. It's over. Play the music.